Hello everyone, I'm Juan Tu. Welcome to the mystery case. Mass murder cases always make the public scary, but it's even scarier in there. The killers believe they're on a mission. Sacred. That day, the United States was shocked when the pair were convicted. Then they kissed again. They didn't show any remorse in court. It's like celebrating a victory. But in the crowd watching, there's one person who's in greater pain than any other. Carson. The man's daughter was convicted. John had a normal childhood like any other child, but it all fell apart in the year 1979 when her parents divorced. I thought it was just a breakup like any other family, but actually it was the beginning of her worst nightmare. My stepmother pulled me. Jenny enters a world full of illusions and paranoia. They essay into stimulants. They pretend to be soldiers of God. His mission is to destroy witches. And then these two guys started killing people. At least 14 people were killed in the name of a purge they imagined raw. The couple was quickly dubbed by the press the witch hunters. San Francisco. More specifically, they don't just kill people. There's also a list of celebrities and politicians they plan to punish. That includes President Ronald Reagan. Jenny has struggled to come to terms with this heartbreaking truth. She still has a lot of memories beautiful about his father before he divorced. But you can't deny it. Things have changed for the worse. Ever since her father married a strange woman. It's called Susan Bennett. When I think about my relationship with you, I always divide it into two phases. Before Susan and after Susan. So who's Susan Baines? The devious woman. Many sins. The worst evil in the world doesn't come from wanderers or cold-blooded killers. It's from normal-looking people. I even lived a dream life. And Susan Barnes is a perfect example. In the 1960s, Susan Barnes is the daughter of a newspaper executive. Accustomed to life in silk velvet, she's got all the money, status, a rich marriage. If you lived in modern times, people would call her a cougar. A middle-aged woman, always chasing young men. Because there was one. Rumor has it that this woman, he had sex with more than 150 of his classmates. At first, she's hiding her habit of having sex with boys, but when drugs come along, things are getting out of control. LSD, a powerful hallucinogenic drug, that awakened the darkness in Susan's mind. It triggers underlying mental signs. First time taking LSD. Woke up the next morning. Susan found her house painted with triangles. She doesn't even remember doing it herself. And then you start to have severe visual hallucinations. A characteristic sign of schizophrenia. A combination of stimulants and mental illness that's not become treated. A recipe for destruction. Her husband finally discovered the truth. Immediately file for divorce and take custody of their 2 children. But Susan doesn't care. She knew she would find another man soon. The fateful meeting. One night a man named Michael Beer attended a party at a wealthy lady's house, just divorced. It was here that he met a woman 10 years his senior, and this person is Susan. During the meeting, she claimed to be a psychic. I can see the past and the future. Susan told Michael that she saw that they had been lovers in a previous life. Coincidence instead. Michael had long been interested in religious extremism. When listening to the spring translation, he's like falling into a bottomless rabbit hole and quickly become more caught up in these ideas. Not long after, these 2 guys got married and spent all of Susan's money. The drugs both moved to California, where they don't just continue to abuse drugs. It's also a half-hearted cult. In the delirium, this couple believes that the world is being manipulated by witches, and Susan as a prophet, to be able to identify them, and Michael who worships her madly, ready to be the right arm of God to destroy witches. The first disciple of these 2 was Karen Bonnies, a to-be-a-year-old actress. I moved to Hollywood with hope, pursue an acting career. Karen is fascinated by new things, is kind of eccentric, and she has a very bohemian lifestyle. Susan and Michael appeared and introduced her to their cult. You were mesmerized. Living with people who have mental health problems and regularly use hallucinogens. It's clearly not a safe decision. People like that tend to be paranoid. They believe the world around them is dangerous, and with his mythical ideas, they believe they're on a mission to purify the world. And then, it didn't take long for things to get worse. When Michael I want to marry this 20-year-old girl as my second wife. Susan immediately objected, must quickly find a brutal solution. Her jealousy quickly turned to murder. Susan thinks Karen is a witch. He ordered Michael to kill the girl immediately. Michael now has no doubt that he is following suit. He took a knife and a pan from the kitchen. She attacked Karen while she was sleeping. He stabbed her in the face until she stopped moving. What Karen had to endure was terrifying. You're just a beautiful 23-year-old girl full of life, but suffered a catastrophic death. After Karen's murder, who called themselves witch hunters, fled to the north, hiding on a farm near a legal essay near small town, Idaho Point in 1982. Susan is in charge of farming, while Michael the Good took on the protective role. Some time later, a man named Clark Stevens joined the farm labor group. Clark is an outspoken open-minded with the style of a surfer from Southern California. He's not afraid to challenge Susan and Michael. Originally, the tension between them comes only from the opposite point of view on how to take care of crops, but the conflict quickly plummeted. Susan felt Clark was disrespectful, especially for her teachings. And according to the ideology of the cult, any eye that insults the prophet is considered a witch. This means that the person must receive a death sentence. It all started in a tense argument. Susan finally decided Clark was a witch. And without hesitation, she ordered Michael to kill this man. Michael believes absolutely in what Jason says. He doesn't need to think long. A cold shot through Clark Stevens' head. Let Michael pour gasoline on the body, it's burning, and then bury the rest under fertilizer on the farm. Time goes by. Everything seems to have fallen into oblivion until one day there's a group camping in the forest near the farm. In a moment, these people have noticed that their dog is playing with something that looks very strange. After a while, the whole group was horrified to find out it's a human skull. This skull is also the remains of the clack. There was no clue about the victim. These people didn't call the police. It just leaves quickly. So Susan and Michael moved on. It's as if nothing happened. They're confident that the police won't be able to track them, and they're both even living under fake identities. Over a period of several months later, Susan and Michael are becoming insatiable and insane. If they're high, and I caught that hour walking across the farm, Susan would scream that it was a witch and Michael would chase her and murder the victim. That's why there was one disappearances in this area reported to the California police. 12 6 years amateur 82, a rescue team came to search for a group of missing hikers in the forest near Idaho, California. But before we get to the point we're looking for, they caught two strange people in the forest. These two guys look like crazy in ragged clothes. Hair, the messy ears start running around and screaming. A member of the rescue team later noticed her. Of those two, dropped a backpack. The rescue team didn't understand because South Dakota people ran away again. And scary when they opened the backpack. Inside is a gun, fake identity papers, and a manifesto called A Call for War. This document calls for nuclear war, intentional assassination, and political violence. It also contains details of those who call themselves hunters, witches, with a list of targets. Most of the names on the list are celebrities and political figures, but there's a more prominent name. Ronald Wilson Reagan was President of the United States at the time. In the document, it's not just crazy statements about the mission to purge witches. It also lists the identities of the victims. The police and the Secret Service quickly put it together. The murder, from Karen Clark Stevens to someone else. They're all marked by Susan and Michael's brutality. For a couple of witch hunters, suspected of being serial killers, and their next target is the President of the United States. The Secret Service was immediately involved. They found one of the two main suspects. Michael Beer has left behind his young daughter and ex-wife before the murders took place. It's worth mentioning that during this time little Jenny, Michael's stepson with his previous wife, always lived with him and his stepmother Susan. She's scared every day, but don't know how to escape. Fortunately, in a few high hits, she used a landline phone to call her mother and ask for help. The danger is too great. Jenny's mother, Michael's ex-wife, decided to act. She secretly took Jenny out of the sight of the murderous couple, cut off all contact. As Jenny packed up to escape, the memories, I'm obsessed with my time with my father and Susan. I walked into Susan's house for the first time. She saw the horror. It was a dark night. When the door opened, there was a small forest in front of her, long, thick pots. It's almost as spooky as a scene from The Wizard of Oz. In the midst of darkness, a woman appeared. Looks exactly like the villain stepped out from Disney cartoons. Jenny lives alone in her father's and stepmother's house. No one really takes care of her because Michael and Susan are always in the dark. Susan regularly cooks weird barley mixed dishes. Need SA and LS go into food. Many times, Jenny was so hungry she had to search everywhere for food, while father and Susan are unconscious, lying naked on the floor after the riots. Under the influence of hallucinogenic foods Susan dispensing, Jenny's father is no longer able to protect and the sadistic stepmother. Susan believes Jenny is a witch or the devil. She abused her physically and mentally, and consider it an exorcism. And I'm always hungry. She's the devil in you. You can't cross your father's eyes, but I know you are the embodiment of the devil and I will expel you. What Susan did to Jenny was nothing more than torture. She has vague memories, but persistent about being submerged in water. Another time her back was scratched with blood, 5 marks on it. It was as if he had just been attacked by a wolf. When Jenny's mother found out how your daughter was abused, she defied a court order and took Jenny into hiding. For 3 years, they live hidden jerking. But when Susan and Michael returned to Los Angeles, Jenny's mother knew that trouble was coming for them. She is convinced that the killer will try to kidnap his daughter. Her feelings quickly came true. The phone one day, and Susan's voice echoed through the wire. We'll pick Jenny up in an hour. But these 2 people don't know that. The Secret Service received information from Jenny's mother and follow their every step. On the way back to Los Angeles, Susan and Michael get a man's hitchhiker. Good to have. His name is John Hayer. The truck has a bench in front, enough room for 2 people to sit comfortably. But if you have 3 people, it's very tight. According to Susan and Michael, John's feet Hayer touching Susan's feet, and that wake up to the murderous couple's crazy beliefs. Insulting the prophet can lead to the death penalty. If you touch her, you can be publicly executed. Susan decides that Hader is a witch and needs to die. Michael immediately pulled out his gun and pointed it at John. But this time, the victims they're targeting have a chance to resist. The truck stopped, and a fierce tug of war ensues between Michael and Hayer in front of the people around you. Hayer tried to grab the gun, while Susan stood outside screaming non-stop. After more than 10 minutes of struggle, family seems to be gaining the upper hand, but suddenly I almost pulled out a knife, stabbing him constantly. Seriously injured, lost a lot of blood, and let go of the gun. At that moment, Michael regained control. John is then shot twice in the head. The horror of 10 witnesses. Susan held on Hayer, while Michael strangled. The ill-fated man collapsed bleeding profusely. Right after that, the pair of killers jumped into a truck and drove off at high speed. But the police quickly found their car and proceeded in pursuit. The tense chase ended when the car lost control, plunged down a ditch. Not accepting arrest, Michael and Susan continued to shoot back and ran off into the forest. But the authorities tracked it to a river, where they were finally caught. The crazy confession. Detective Frank Faison has long suspected the pair were involved in the murders of Caden and Clark Stevens, but their real identities has not yet been identified. When I heard that 2 people were arrested, he immediately went to Sonoma County for questioning, instead of opposing. Susan and Michael were excited. Susan announced complacently, "You want us to confess? No way. We want big news. We want to be on national television. We want to be in the newspaper." Faison just calmly replied, "I can arrange that." In fact, Susan and Michael didn't want to hide. On the contrary, I want the whole world to know their crazy spears. Susan, that she could attract a mass of fanatics. Become the right hand of God. Before the trial begins, the couple asked the police to hold a press conference, and in return, they're going to reveal to more victims that they killed. When the press conference is Johnny was 19 years old, heard things that she was completely unprepared for. The spirit she remembered Michael's familiar voice. What he said was both bizarre and terrifying. The court became a topic of discussion that Jenny couldn't ignore. She knows though the number of victims is estimated at more than 14. The court only prosecuted 3 cases. The murder the couple had confessed to. During the trial, the pair of killers are constantly giving strange witnesses. From occultists, fortune teller, 2 people who claim to be spiritual healers, made the trial take on a mythical color. It's like a pagan gathering. Susan and Michael keep messing about. From the novel A 984 by Jock Owl. Nolan Ryan is the devil. To the reason why sour witches need to be destroyed. To justify, they claim that their violent actions, it's self-defense because they've been attacked by the victim. In a stand in front of the Suzuki court screaming, "What is my crime? Is it because I'm beautiful or because I'm an artist?" It all looks like a ridiculous show. When the examiner walks into the courtroom, from photos of Caden's face to the grisly testimony of 10 witnesses, he witnessed the murder of John. The whole state of California is dead. The couple was labeled the San Francisco witch hunters. Michael Beer and Susan not only not regret but also smile and kissing when the camera's on. Both were eventually convicted of 3 murders. He was sentenced to 75 years to prison life. Jenny's mother, "You can breathe when the killers are locked behind you." Iron, but for Jenny the obsession is still there. She wonders, if my father could do such terrible things, you yourself may not. This thought caused Jenny to fall into depression, losing faith in yourself. You are afraid that one day you will hurt others. The thought of having monster blood kept haunting me. Photo, she's only 9 years old. Jenny couldn't stop loving her father, though. But over time, that love fades. Especially when Mike started sending strange letters from the closet, knowing that the hand writes the words. It's the same hand that cuts off people's heads. She was afraid to feel as if father's cruelty had haunted her. In order to keep living, Jenny is forced to hide the past. You remember first time about launching Boyfriend Family on Thanksgiving. He told everyone in advance, "I told them that your father died in a car accident. I don't mind." Jenny silently accepted the lie. No matter how much they grow up, nightmares and depression still cling. It seriously affected Jenny's life. A day later, I almost fell asleep in the class one was teaching. Johnny realized she couldn't go on like this. You decided to face the past. You have to do something to regain control of your life. And so she decided to go see him in prison. The meeting lasted for more than 3 hours. Michael, he's just perpetuating his obsession with witches. It's been almost 15 years since he was arrested, but Jeanne was horrified to realize nothing seems to have changed with my father. Finally, she interrupted Dad. Ask about the murders. Jenny seeks the truth and explanation, a little remorseful. Anything that can help you close this horrible chapter in my life. But Michael didn't give you that. The conversation only made Jenny realize Michael has always been a murderer. He was never my father. But then, due to reforms in the prison system, Michael Jackson's 75-year prison sentence has been overturned. From 2014 onwards, the killers may be eligible. Review after each year. Years ago this situation, Jenny thought, how can we forgive someone when they have no regrets? So she decided he fought to prevent his father's release. On the day Michael had his hearing, Jenny will speak out against it. Don't stop. She also contacted the family of John Hayer, Clark Stevens and Karen, after discovering that the parole board had never informed about the hearing. You believe they have a right to know the truth. For many years, Jenny tried to erase the horrible memories her father left behind. When you meet the relatives of the victims, they told you something you'd never thought of before. It's not your fault. Johnny had always felt he had to atone for father. But now you understand, nothing can bring back the dead. You are not responsible for the sins of the father. She is still the daughter of a traitor. Jenny, I don't believe that defines me anymore. You no longer hide the past. Instead of running away, she turned it into a motivation to act. Jenny started a campaign. It collected 10 signatures and called on the media to oppose the draft. The families of the victims agree with you. Together they testify in court, and Jenny's story became the focus of the petition's rejection. Your father's pardon. And against all odds, they won. Jenny, I'll never have to live in my father's shadow again. You are completely free. You no longer have to carry it on your shoulders. The bloody past. You never deserve to suffer. Today, Jenny, use your own experience to help others. Understanding of mental illness and trauma. She's become a social work doctor. We are dedicated to supporting children whose parents no matter what criminals. The situation is, no matter what happens, I believe there is always a way out of the darkness. What do you think of this story? Comment below. If you find today's story fascinating, don't forget to like the channel and turn on notifications. Thank you. Hi. See you later.